The most iconic units in Dragon Ball Legends history. A person or thing regarded as a representative symbol or as worthy of veneration. Following that up with veneration, great respect, reverence. I've got a long list of units and I won't spend a lot of time talking about every single unit, but the word iconic can be interpreted in many different ways. For this, I think you need to have some longevity on you, so I won't be including any units that released after the 5th anniversary. If I had to choose two, I'd choose these two. But it's not just about them being overpowered, it's their impact on the player base, what they've done to the game, and how they're perceived even though it's been years or months after their release. I'm not going to order this, but I'm just going to mention some, as I made a tweet and people had a lot of differing opinions. So in the comment section below, let me know what would be your top 3 most iconic Dragon Ball Legends units. Let's get into this. I know I said we're going to get into this, but this is important to explain. When I explain every single one of these units, you have to imagine the times. There's a lot of difference in the meta now versus at these times, so if you're a new player, you wouldn't know. But essentially, I will try to explain the circumstance at that time. For example, what mechanics existed and what mechanics didn't exist. But for a lot of these, it's not going to be the auto counter, indestructible, survivability type games that we've played nowadays. So just bear that in mind going forward for this video. So the first one for this video is Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and not the Ultra. The Red Legends Limited, one of the first Legends Limiteds to release in Dragon Ball Legends. It's really hard to explain why this guy is so crazy, but it's also not much to explain either. It's truly just a case of damage beats everything. Early doors, the game was literally about damage. If you did more damage, you win. Some teams were able to survive, and I'm sure you've seen in the newsletter how they spoke about trying to make units kits a lot more individualistic. But this case, there was nothing you could do to beat Gohan, especially when he Zenkai'd. Because of what's in his unique ability, his damage numbers were just crazy. It's really just his unique ability 1, but every single time somebody dies on his team, he's gonna get 40% damage inflicted, and he also gets 100% damage inflicted for his ultimate art if an allied tag is a Son family member. At that time, you can imagine if he's last stand and he has an ultimate, he's going to one-shot you. There also wasn't buff cancellation, so his blast damage numbers were enough to get you out in one blast, which is absolutely insane, and that's not something that would ever happen in today's Dragon Ball Legends. That was enough for him to rule PvP. There's a screenshot somewhere on the internet where the top 100 players, literally without any single missing gap, every single person was using Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, and there was no exception, because if you didn't use him, you're not getting anywhere, and that's just what it was. Early Legends was a different beast, man. Next up, we've got Namek Goku, the legendary Super Saiyan. Son Goku. This guy here, very dangerous. Now, I'm just going to tell you straight away, there was no quick attacks, there was no tackles. Just bear that in mind for everything I'm about to say. You guys are used to fighting Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, his blue card counter, right? If you can't tackle and you can't quick attack, and your options are only to press cards or to tap attack. And if you tap attack, you're not doing enough damage. If you press a card, he's going to blue card counter you, and he always had one on deck. Also, imagine him being the highest damaging unit in the game, so nobody could out damage him. If he's last stand, just say goodbye. He's going to take you out. Your options are very minimal, and what it did is force a stalemate of PvP where people would just float because they don't want to engage in an attack. Imagine both sides are using Namek Goku. If you do a blue card before them, they're just going to blue card your blue card. So now you're just going counter for counter, which made the game insanely tedious. Everybody was using this guy. One of those cases of pure damage beats all. Plus, the mechanic just made it so silly to fight against. If you didn't have Namek Goku, you might just want to drop the game for a little bit. But for him, outside of the fact that his damage numbers were high, if there was tackles in the game and quick attacks, then I think his reign wouldn't have been as strong. But being a unit that has a new mechanic, and back then mechanics released maybe once a year, everybody wanted to use it, and it just being the most OP adds to that. Let's talk about Legends Limited Super Vegito, the first anniversary Legends Limited, so not the fusing one. This one was another case of high damage beats all. At this point in the game, it was just going power creep for power creep. Whatever character releases next, if you do more damage, you win. And Super Vegito here is no exception to that rule. A tier above the rest by far. I don't just think it's his kit that makes him so amazing, and there's not much to talk about besides from the fact that maybe he destroys regeneration. Back then, regeneration was the top team because it was healing galore. Like I spoke about with the newsletter, they're trying to make Legends how it was early doors, where certain teams actually did certain things. So regen actually regened the most, and that made them the best team. But Super Vegito shut that down real quick. I also want to add into this this, Super Vegeta's reveal made him heavily remembered. They revealed him at the battle hour and they had the competitors playing a 1v1 battle, and he had some cool intro. Super Vegeta coming out, and it was the first time we'd ever seen it. Everybody was hype as hell. Super Vegeta was just one of those where everybody was just like, wow. Especially for this mobile game. Bear in mind, Dragon Ball Legends, a mobile game looking this good is kind of crazy. It exceeded everybody's expectations and really set the bar for what Legends could produce for the years to come. We've got Legends Limited Gogeta Blue here, the first rendition of Gogeta Blue, who recently got a Zenkai. This is about his release, and I think more so there's a lot of favoritism in this, but in addition to that, it's the fact that he's a skill-based unit. On his release, the reveal first of all was very good. Seeing Gogeta Blue make his first appearance in Dragon Ball Legends, everybody wanted him without a doubt, and he dropped alongside the Legends Limited Broly. Now Broly is nowhere near in this conversation, but at the time Broly was seen as better than Gogeta Blue. In my personal opinion, and I remember specifically uploading, I did not think Broly was better, but a lot of people were very stuck on the idea of draw speed beats all, because Broly's a damage stacker, so if you just have a lot of cards, your combo can keep going, and cover changes weren't as common as we'd get them today. But what a lot of people failed to realize is once you land that green card, it's a free kill every single time. And once people started to realize that and power creep started to settle in, so Broly phased out and Gogeta Blue stayed up top, he became him. It was really a lapse in the player base's IQ, and this is where we got one of our first skill-based units, where if you can land that green card, you get a free kill and practically a free win, because it locks you in. Because of that, Gogeta Blue became one of the units with the most longevity in Dragon Ball Legends. Even before his Zenkai, people would just bring him out to land the green card and see how much damage they can do. It's not going to be killing like in the day, but if you have the cards built up and the ultimate arts, you can still catch a body, and that's pre-Zenkai. So this is not a unit to be underestimated, but obviously the status of him being Gogeta Blue and his reveal being spectacular, naturally people took a liking to him. We've got Legends Limited Vegeta Blue, the second anniversary Legends Limited. I think the reason this unit is iconic is because he's one of the most devastating units we've had ever in Dragon Ball Legends existence, but what that done is bring Dragon Ball Legends to a state where it's been lower than ever in existence. When I say this period of Dragon Ball Legends might have been the worst ever, I'm talking people review bombing the game, review bombing Dragon Ball Legends. Dragon Ball fans love Dragon Ball, so do you know how bad the game has to be for people to band together and say give the game a 1-star rating so it can get lowered? And I believe on the Google App Store it got to a 2-star rating. That's very low, so you could see that the player base wasn't happy. One big factor of this is that you couldn't cover change multiple times. Vegeta Blue is the type to have a lot of strike cards. He was one of the first characters in the game, if not the first, to draw a strike card every time he presses a strike card, and that would happen 3 times. This is a common mechanic that we see nowadays, but he's the only person doing this. On top of his high damage numbers, the typical power creep, if you cover changed, the game was built in a way where you couldn't cover change again. So normally you can just waste all 2 of your cover changes and you have to wait all 10 time accounts for both of your characters. But before, once you cover changed once, that second cover change isn't something that you could do. So even if you cover changed into a green, Vegeta Blue had enough damage power to take you out, and you couldn't do anything until his combo ends, which made it very hard to fight against him. Once you make one mistake, it's over. And I think the fact that they did that really just shows that Vegeta Blue was an absolute menace. We've got Purple UI, Ultra Instinct Goku, the first ever Ultra Instinct Goku. By this time, we had a couple new mechanics that were very much wow. But when we saw this Ultra Instinct reveal, we couldn't fathom what we were seeing. We couldn't even comprehend how it would work in game because we'd never seen this before. He's mid-battle dodging. We didn't know if there was going to be a gauge. We didn't know the gauge things even existed. So we're thinking, how is this even going to work? And this guy's standing in the middle of the battlefield. You throw out a blast arts, you try to hit a strike, and he dodges that. We couldn't even fathom that was possible in this mobile game, and seeing it in the trailer, everybody was like, no way. He's simply making the video because he's the first rendition of Ultra Instinct in this game, and it changed the way people saw the potential of Dragon Ball Legends. With him being the start, it basically just led to a down spiral of gauges and different mechanics that we've seen today. But I'd have to say the Ultra Instinct reveal is easily one of the best reveals we've ever got in Dragon Ball Legends because it blew our expectations out the water. He wasn't one of the best units ever, which might be to your surprise, but just the fact that he was crazy to play with absolutely absolute fun is enough for people to remember him in the Hall of Fame of Dragon Ball Legends. The reveal's carrying hard though. Goku Blue and Vegeta Blue. Blue Bros, the purple unit. On their release, during that reveal, people put this as one of the best reveals ever in Dragon Ball Legends. And that alone says enough. Paul saw the Hope Trunks, people don't hold them to that high standard, even though in the whole longevity of Dragon Ball Legends, I would say they've had more value. But during this period, Blue Bros literally owned the game and they had the most ecstatic reveal ever. Seeing the tag switch, everybody was thinking, whoa, there's no way they can actually switch in between each other. We've got two units as one. We couldn't fathom that was possible as well, similar to Ultra Instinct. So everybody was going insane. And then on top of that, we learned that their element reverses. So purple is type advantage against green and weak against yellow. But what would happen is, you guys know, purple becomes strong against yellow but weak against green when fighting as Vegeta, which was also mind-blowing. And it meant that with this unit alone, you could fend off everybody if you just time your tag switches correct. They were also a gap ahead of the rest of the game, but not just because of their own kit. They had a super team, Zenkai buff galore, Mono Purple. Mono Purple was the team of death. If you had this team, and pretty much everybody had this team, you were guaranteed wins. And that made it very, very hard to fight against. It was either you was using Mono Purple or Future with Sword of Hope Trunks. And that's pretty much all there is to it for Blue Bros. Nobody has bad things to say about Blue Bros. Tag units nowadays might feel bland, but this one here is special. Ultra Super Gogeta, the first summonable Ultra in Dragon Ball Legends. I'm neither Goku nor Vegeta. I'm the one that's gonna take you down. I remember seeing this reveal and I was thinking there's no way. I'm sure all of us can agree, out of every single Fusion Warrior, even as a Vegito fan, Super Gogeta might have top 1 aura. This guy here is insane. Finished the fight in a matter of seconds and he was flexing as well. This reveal here with the soundtrack, and I like to say it's the best reveal ever. It's my personal favorite reveal as well. The soundtrack is the best soundtrack they've produced ever. I don't know where it is. I'll play it for you right now.
I'm neither Goku nor Vegeta. I'm the one who's gonna take you down.
But yeah, the general status of being the first summonable Ultra, there was a lot of other things that came with it as well. He fended off the Mono Purple meta and the Future meta. So if you had Super Gogeta, you could just beat all of those teams very easily. His ultimate art's done a lot of damage and it nullified endurance for a number of time accounts after the fact. He draws blue cards all the time and he's going to destroy your whole deck off pressing it every single time. And don't let him be last stand. Don't let him lose a unit because he's coming back for vengeance and keeping you locked in. Free ultimate on last stand as well, by the way. Forku, you're a new gen. You don't know about Super Gogeta, bro. This guy is the GOAT. We've got Blue Beast Gohan, the first Beast Gohan in Dragon Ball Legends, coming out of the hype of the superhero movie. Now, there's a lot that goes into this, and not just the fact that it's a Beast Gohan, but the series of countering, which I've spoke about in a previous video. We came out of the 4th anniversary. Ultra Super Vegeta was the Ultra, but he got countered just over a month later by Final Form Cooler. Final Form Cooler being the top dog in the game, somebody had to take him out. And right before the festival, we get Blue Beast Gohan. Now, this is one of the most notorious teams in Dragon Ball Legends history, where we had Blue Beast Gohan, Future Gohan, and Red Pan. Future Gohan, he's a support unit, but he also has endurance and he can break combos very well being yellow. That's just also another factor. Pan breaks down your combo by reducing your ki. She's gonna reduce sub count, so the switching is very fast, and she also gives buffs. That makes Blue Beast Gohan, with his fast fill engage and empty engage, super oppressive on the battlefield. Once his combo starts, you're probably gonna lose a unit unless you're using that exact team, because no other units could keep up with the power creep that came with this unit. Similar to the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan that I mentioned at the start of the video, this guy here, he had the whole top 1000 PvP just using Blue Beast. You could play 100 games in a row and maybe only one of them won't be the Blue Beast, Future Gohan, and Pan team. This is the last one for the video, and I didn't really want to include this one, but I'm going to anyways. A lot of people on Twitter believe that Ultra Gogeta Blue is definitely one of the top 3 most iconic units in Dragon Ball Legends history. We know him for his counter gauge and the meme, "It's futile." And I think think that's enough. This guy here was obviously top 1 on his release, one of the most oppressive units, and had insane longevity. Many reasons to use him, especially with the addition of him being Gogeta Blue. He's a very popular unit. He could 1v3 teams very easily, and don't let him get past 40 timer counts. He's becoming insane. Vanish recovery, endurance nullification on rising rush, insane blue card damage, damage in general, combo potential. He had it all. Plus the blast counter gauge. It's futile. It's just something you can't get over. I think it's mostly for the memes, but he was one of those top dogs. But there's a lot of top dogs that people wouldn't necessarily say are iconic. That's going to make the end of the video. There might be some units that I missed. For example, Android 18. A lot of you guys will not know, but the yellow Android 18 is the reason that draw speed is one of the most annoying things in game. But I wanted to focus more on Legends Limiteds and Ultras because they're more hype, more higher rarity. Also, just by default, they're just way more memorable. I don't think anybody else would go up above any of these guys, but if there's anybody I missed, let me know in the comment section below. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name's Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.